Hey y'all, so in this section we're going to be going over chapters 11 through 15 in Robert Jordan's The Dragon Reborn, which is the third book in the Wheel of Time series. Here we go. Chapter 11 is Tarvolen. So our group gets back to Tarvolen, and Huron goes back to Faldara to tell his king about the Dragon Reborn. I kind of have a feeling that this is like Men, where we're just not going to see him for the remainder of the book. It's just kind of a way for him to logistically move to another place, and we may end up catching up with him later. Varen warns the girls that when they actually get to the tower, they need to be silent. And I already know that it's not going to work out. So Sheriam and some others end up meeting them, and Sheriam makes a comment about Varen bringing the runaways back, and of course, what does Egwene do? She opens her mouth. I don't understand why they can't ever just hold their tongues, but fucking hell. After all that happens, Matt is sent off to be healed, and I'm sure we're going to catch up with him in a couple of chapters. Chapter 12 is the Armin seat. So Varen goes to talk to the Armin seat, and the Armin tells Varen that pretty much as soon as Rand proclaimed himself as the official Dragon Reborn, the other two false dragons are now dead. Varen discusses with the Armin seat why she brought the Horn of Valyr back, which is because Matt is the one who sounded it, not Rand, and so now Matt and the Horn are linked. Varen also tries to kind of talk to the Amyrlin about the Seanchan, but the Amyrlin doesn't really seem to be interested or concerned about the Seanchan at all, so Varen just kind of lets it go. And I was kind of hoping that Varen would explain why the girls ran away, that they didn't actually run away, but we'll see. So in chapter 13, Punishments, Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve are taken to the Amyrlin seat, and we learn that Liandrin and 12 other sisters are actually Black Aja, and they stole several tongrial and killed 3 sisters, 2 warders, 7 guards, and 9 servants, and took off. The Everland makes it clear that the 3 girls should have seen through Liandrin's trap, and in hindsight, I completely agree. Whenever I kind of got to that part in the book, I had forgotten a few things that Liandrin had done in the beginning of the book, because I had to take, you know, kind of a week off of reading it, and it just caught me completely off guard. I know that was, I shouldn't have been caught off guard, but I was, and in hindsight, the girls really should, and me, should have seen through Liandrin completely. So they're actually going to be punished for running away by cleaning, but Elaine and Egwene are going to be raised to accepted because of their knowledge of the one power. I don't know how I feel about this, because once again, it feels like nobody is being taught anything. It's the girls are just kind of stumbling through magic themselves. No one's really getting taught much. But, you know, maybe the power is just more of feeling and kind of figuring it out for yourself. Maybe it's just one of those things that it's hard to teach. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm going to go with, is that it's difficult. Maybe it's a little different for everyone. You know, Nynaeve, she accesses her magic through anger. Egwene and Elaine don't. So I'm going to kind of chalk that up to, yes, the sisters can kind of guide each other and kind of help guide novices in the ways of magic and stuff, but ultimately it is up to that individual woman to figure it out on the whole. So I think that makes sense with what Robert Jordan is writing, and that's what I'm going to go with. We also learn that the Queen, Elaine's mother, she left the tower pretty angry because Elaine isn't there and she's missing, and she doesn't bring Elida, the Aes Sedai, with her. So for the first time in a long time, the Queen of Andor doesn't have an Aes Sedai advisor, and that really worries the tower for sure. Chapter 14, The Bite of Thorns. In this chapter, Elaine ends up being dismissed, and the Amyrlin seat speaks to just Nynaeve and Egwene. The Amyrlin seat actually talks about raising Nynaeve to full sisterhood, but because they're being punished by cleaning, she doesn't want a full sister to be seen doing something as lowly as scrubbing pots and pans in the kitchen. So Nynaeve isn't going to be raised to full sisterhood yet, but probably when this all kind of blows over, she will be. So at this point, the Amyrlin seat explains that no one really put together them running away with everything that happened with Liandrin and the other Black Aja. So she has tasked Egwene and Nynaeve with finding the Black Aja. She thinks that no one will expect them to be on the lookout because they are just accepted and they're being punished right now. So she's kind of hoping that they can fly under the radar and find out more information than what the Amerlin seat would be able to because of her position. So the Amerlin seat gives them a letter that has her own personal seal on it, and it basically says that they are under the orders of the Amerlin seat and to let them proceed with whatever they're doing. And this is kind of like a get out of jail free card. It is not a thing to flash and wave around, because that could also make them a target just as much as it could help them figure out what's going on. So it's supposed to be used as a last resort only. Chapter 15, the Gray Man. On their way back to their quarters, Egwene is actually almost killed by a crossbow bolt. Nynaeve sees a man kind of running across the little area there, and she stiffens the air around him to trap him. And by the time the girls get there, he is dead. Somebody has killed him. Sheriam appears, and she explains that he is one of the soulless, basically someone who gave up their soul to be an assassin for the Dark One. And Sheriam basically covers up the death and sends the girls away, which is weird. And Nynaeve actually notices that Sheriam didn't even ask who killed him. And I feel like that's a pretty telling thing. You know, I feel like that would be Sheriam's first concern, is who just killed this guy and why is he here in the first place? But she's kind of trying to cover it up, and she kind of makes it out like she's helping Egwene and Nynaeve, but I don't know. I get a bad vibe with Sheriam, and kind of like I did with Leandrin in the beginning before I forgot. So I'm going to try to remember my bad feelings about Sheriam this time around in case she does something further down in this book, because I'm watching her. So in the last video, I know I talked about the Shadow Rising being a thicker book but still having the same number of chapters, and I think and I had a comment where the suggestion was to maybe just break it up into when the point of view changes, and that might kind of help keep it steady. And I think I'm going to kind of do a combination of when the point of view changes, but also like in whole chapters. That way I'm not partway in chapter 12 on one video and then still in chapter 12 on the next. So kind of when the point of view changes, but also when those chapters. And it just kind of depends. I may, you know, if it is a little bit shorter, I want to keep the videos long enough to where they're not 5 and 6 minutes long, which I doubt they would be, but you know what I mean. I want them to be long enough. And then I think the longest that I'm going to try to go through is maybe 25 minutes if I absolutely have to. I still want to keep it to the 15 to 20 minute mark, but I feel like it's going to kind of work out. I'll be working around that and kind of looking into that more when we get closer to the Shadow Rising. So I think I'll be picking up the Shadow Rising to read in March, because we'll still be going through some of the Dragon Reborn chapters up until then, or through then, and that way I can kind of stay ahead to keep them on time for y'all. So let me know down in the comments what you think about these chapters. Everyone's comments are always so helpful, and I love it so much. So keep them coming, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all are as good as gold. Y'all take care.